Check it out. 1 2 1 2. I hope this is coming through. Crazy, huh? Crazy how the sun rises just that little bit earlier each day as we approach summer. Crazy, huh? Crazy how I get the feeling that I've missed the best part of the day even though I still get up early. Crazy, huh? You gotta get up with the sun. You've got to get the light in your life. And wow, living in the north of Scotland, you don't get that many warm days. No joke. No joke. And it's funny when people say, "Oh, out in Europe you get 35 degrees in summer, 40 degrees in summer," and you have no idea how lucky you are because the average temperature, which doesn't change much throughout the year, is 15 to 18 degrees here, and it being early May and the forecast, which is often wrong, which is often very wrong, is that it's going to be 18 degrees here today, which is as hot as it gets. That's it, right? That's it. That's take off your t-shirt, swim in the sea kind of temperature here. Crazy, huh? Count your blessings, right? Count your blessings instead of counting those sheep. Great morning to get out. Great morning for a jog. But I confined myself to this room and this opportunity to communicate for lots of different reasons. Why bother? Just let the government do what it does and everything will be fine. We'll take care of you. Yeah, maybe. Maybe I'm doing it for me. Maybe I'm not. Maybe I'm doing it for the experience of doing it and seeing what comes out of it. Maybe it's a learning process. Maybe it'll end soon. Maybe it won't. Maybe I'm right. Maybe. Yeah, definitely maybe. So, wow. It's crazy. It's like not even, well, it's just after 8 in the morning and it's really warm. It's because there's no wind, right? The wind has a chill factor here, definitely. It'll it'll usually say outside temperature 8 degrees, but feels like 1. Um, if you ask the great gods of Google, right? Um, anyway, which is the segue into something completely different. I hope that wherever you are, whatever you're doing, things are swimming along nicely. For you talking about swimming, there was a seal in the river yesterday. I thought it was a big fish. I was like, "Oh my God, little fish! Oh my God, big fish!" And then when it popped its head up, I was like, "Oh, it's a seal." Um, graceful creatures, right? Graceful creatures. Interesting. I was wondering what would happen if I was out on a paddleboard and there was a seal swimming around. I've seen dolphins knock people off paddleboards. Obviously, it doesn't happen very often, and I'm sure it was a playful thing, as dolphins are not really known to be aggressive. Um, hmm. Interesting, right? So, despite the fact I want to be outside, I'll do this recording. I'll put it out. I'll see where it goes. Because you don't know where things are going to end. See, that's the problem with tyranny. That's the problem with lies. That's the problem with misinformation. How can you possibly believe that misinformation is actually going to help people? I mean, misinformation is just the government Orwellian term for a lie. Well, I'm sorry I misinformed you, but it's a lie, right? If you don't know what is true, then say you don't know what is true. If you think that something might be correct, then say I think it might be correct. There we go. I mean, that's what real leaders do. That's the difference. You're not going to build a successful company on fraud and lies because you're not going to be able to work with any nice people. You're going to be able to work with a lot of ignorant people, a lot of criminal people, a lot of stupid people, a lot of people just like yourself because we attract who we are. That's why people in bad relationships, when they're confused, oh, I don't understand why I always end up in it. Well, you're projecting what is going to come to you. That's the first point. The second point is you have to open the door and let the vampire in. The third point is what happened to your skills of discernment. So they're all important questions to ask. You know what I think about when I put out these little videos? Well, first of all, I try not to think too much about them because that would be the paralysis of analysis. I try not to think about it too much. I know that they're impacting about 30 people a video. Yes, but you should be getting out to hundreds and thousands, and that's not the point. That's not the point. If everybody does their little bit, right? If everyone would just be quiet and realize that the planet is in danger, and the first thing to do is to save the animals, and when that didn't work, we decided to save the environment, and when that didn't work, we decided to save the people. And we've got a fabulous democracy. It's demonic, but fabulous. And we're pushing forward with all of the great technological advances that we need to make to turn humans into non-thinking, algorithmic bioentities. Then we're going to upload our brains. Well, it's really a download, you see. Everything is a download. We're going to download our brains into the cloud, and then we're going to live forever. And you can join us if you just do what we tell you to do. That's it. That's it. Don't worry. We'll take care of your education. We'll take care of your kids. We'll take care of your work. No need to think about what you enjoy doing, because we'll channel and filter you into the areas of society that we feel that you will best fit in. Yes, we have career guidance. It's like a missile. It just sort of guides you in certain directions. Yes, there's hundreds of thousands of careers that you could do, and we realize we realize you're very young to make that decision, but that's okay, because we've got professionals and experts and well-trained monkeys who wear suits and understand that their job is to tell you what to do with your life. There we go. And that's how it all works, right? That's how they organize, manipulate, plan their agendas. That's how it works. Isn't it? Isn't that how it works? And part of it is that, for sure. Right. Let's dive in to where will we begin? By the way, my name's G. I represent the Academy. You can find more information under Graham William Hendry on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube under the Academy, while the YouTube channel is still there, because TikTok, um, time is short, and anyone with a sane, sensible, rational, alternative explanation, well, we don't need to hear that, do we? So they press their magic button, just as they're told to do, because good soldiers, the sold people, good soldiers follow orders, right? Orders, right? It's all military. It's all military. Company, group of men in the army. It's all military. A marketing campaign. It's all military. Let's launch a new project. It's all military. With a thin veil. Just like painting your tanks pink, or covering them with satanic rainbows. You've been tricked. You've all been tricked. If you're following the business work that I do, a new interview coming out talking about fitness and martial arts, you might want to check that out when it comes out. Check out the promos. A lot of fun to do that. I also have to say that I found it really hard to focus during the interview with Focus. I guess that's the difference between boys and men: the ability to deliver, the ability to get it right. You're not going to get it right every time, but there's a certain responsibility there for sure. Principles of motivation, some things to think about today. A lot of the time we're looking for inspiration, we're looking for courage, but that is something that already lies within the person. The ability to make the change lies within you. It's just probably been suppressed for a long period of time. We have to understand that each person is enough. You are the past, the present, and the future. And then when I find it very interesting when people say somebody changed. I don't think people really change. I just don't think they're in an environment that appreciates them for who they are. So people don't really change. It's just an inability to recognize the truth that's already there. So you've got to act like it's true if you want it to become true. That's for sure. Now, everybody also has to understand that you must break down your conscious, subconscious, and unconscious desires so that you understand what's driving you. I figure it works like a triangle. Yeah, you've got your conscious, what you know is happening to you. You've got your subconscious, what is happening but you're not aware of it, and you've got your unconscious, all those drivers of all those experiences in the past. And your actions are a result of the convergence of these three concepts, these three principles, and whichever one is the strongest is going to lead you. So it's really important that you explore the depths of your own mind, because each person is powerful. Each person has a unique power within themselves that nobody can take away from them. Example of that would be recent Twitter post by Alex Berenson, who pointed out that the sheriff of Riverside County, California, east of Los Angeles, population 2.5 million, has announced he will not be enforcing California's lockdown orders against businesses or individuals because they're unconstitutional. One man in one position is able to stand up against everything and affect the lives of 2.5 million people. And that's the power of one. That's anyone who's ever started a business or held a position of responsibility will realize the power of one. It's epic, the power of one person to to make a comment, to share information, to express an idea, such as Stephen Crowder, who recently tweeted, "One death toll you won't see covered by mainstream media is that abortion kills 900,000 babies a year in the United States." Is that enough? You satisfied yet? Well, it's her body, her choice. Yeah, but what about the choice of the new life, right? It's funny how it's your body or my body, my choice. Yet when I make an eloquent expression of my disgust at how vaccines are being mandated and forced on people, it's suddenly not my choice anymore, right? I get to choose what I... Do you see, it only... It's a game. It's a language game. It's all about the words that they give you. It's all about the words that they give you. Anyway, there's more. Abortions amount to more deaths than all homicides, suicides, drug overdoses, alcohol-related deaths, and car accidents combined, right? But don't worry, right? Don't worry about it. The churches are closed, but the abortion clinics are open. Don't worry about it. It's perfectly all right. You know, these are the these are the forgotten statistics that we will be judged upon. The universe will judge you whether you like it or not, right? The universe is coming for you whether you like it or not. Meanwhile, Luke Rudkowski pointed out that Bill Gates spent a lot of time hanging around with Jeffrey Epstein. Not supposed to mention those two names in the same sentence because it sets off the algorithms. Mr. Epstein was a government-protected pedophile that abused 1,000 children. And he was also a eugenicist. He also worked for multiple intelligence agencies. He also set up honey traps. He also worked with the universities. He also worked with royalty. And he had a lot of very important and influential people staying with him as he traveled around the world. Go Google, if it's still there, the Lolita Express and find out who traveled on his private plane. You might be surprised, but then again, you might not, right? Thank you, Luke. Lucius, the bringer of light. What else is happening? A lot of messages, a lot of negative messages out there. Let's jump. Shall we jump to Facebook? I have not prepared the Facebook stream yet. This is very interesting. No, preparation is everything. If you fail to prepare, can't even speak. If you fail to prepare, then you will never succeed. Right. I can't read that. The text is too small. I'm sorry. Let me make it bigger for you. This will only take a moment. Just like a quick shot. And it won't hurt at all. Right? Just like that Australian governor who took the fake flu vaccines. Right? You know? There's no end to the insanity, is there? You travel to the end of the universe. What's that quote about? The universe may not be infinite, but human beings' ignorance appears to be. Crazy, huh? Crazy. Let's see if I can find this. No, it's not on that side. Those are just crazy pictures. Oh. It does appear to be a bit big. It does appear to be a bit big. Okay, let's make it a bit smaller. There we go. Sorry about this. What I wanted to point out was that apart from not being organised, politics.co.uk closing down criticism. Number 10's campaign to silence outrage over COVID. And the story is sort of printed like, oh, we're going to uncover something, but they don't even get close to the real drama. But it's worth pointing out that they are able to criticize themselves, but it's still very much controlled opposition. By controlled opposition, I mean they get you to focus on the negative elements that they want you to focus on. It's misdirection. So the most insidious weapon of language is to conceal the reality under our noses. On Thursday, Boris Johnson had the audacity to declare that we have so far succeeded in the first and most important task we set ourselves as a nation, to avoid the tragedy that engulfed other parts of the world. Really? 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 In reality, the UK accounts for less than 1 in 100 of the world's population and 1 in 8 of its deaths. Our death toll is now eclipsed only by the United States. The government can wave its hands. And it's very interesting in the United States, the difference between the states. There are some states with basically zero problems. And you'd think we'd be focusing on them so that we can learn something, right? The government can wave its hands, point elsewhere, and cloak inadequacy as competence, but cannot change the truth of how it failed. The fundamental problem is the government defines success less by what it does and how it communicates. Less by what it does than how it communicates. Yes, it judges success by how it does something, not what it does. I mean, that's basically for government, the end justifies the means, and the means are any way that you want, which is Machiavellian and is the essence of evil, because it's never right to do something wrong to get something right. That's just not emphasized enough. Ministers do not need to flatten the curve as much as flatten the criticism. Oh, so true. In the intersection of exceptionalism and misinformation, it can boast of false achievements and project real blame. Ultimately, we will hear any number of distractions, distortions, and dead cats to cover up a single question. Why a rich country gifted with time and resources can become completely overwhelmed when so many of its counterparts did not? Well, it's either A, incompetent, or B, it's part of the plan, really. Or maybe it's a little bit of both. Have you thought about it? Have you come to a conclusion? What information are you reading? What are your sources? Are they questionable? Are they impeccable? Now, if you're following, there's a couple of different aspects to the next story, which is about the death of a doctor. Now, we can cover death of doctors from a lot of different perspectives. One is to understand that those people working on the front line are going to be challenged. They're going to be affected. There's going to be deaths there. It's sad. A lot of these doctors working on the front line are heroes. We wish that the situation and the problems didn't exist. However, at the same time, there's a dark side, right? And the dark side is that some doctors have been given a lot of power, and some doctors, because the system is systematic. It will only filter you through if you follow orders. That's what all the years of study are. What orders? Who's going to follow the orders? Who's going to follow the rules? And I've also said in previous presentations that a lot of people have a problem processing the concept of a medical tyranny. And I thought about that a lot, and then I looked back through history and realized that it's not so uncommon. I mean, it's not so uncommon to lock your enemies away in psychiatric wards of hospitals, for example. It's not so common to claim that people are just insane. And if you look at what the Nazi Party very much integrated with their work with doctors and nurses, they had to. They had to. And it goes back even further. Look what happened in the Bolshevik takeover. So it's not really anything new that science gets abused. Um, add to that the different kinds of abuse that takes place, where it's not just the people that are manipulated, it's the information as well, in terms of the allopathic versus homeopathic medicines for treating human problems. And remember, and we might get to this later, we'll see, it's not the doctor that cures you, it's your own body that heals you. So you have to very much invest in yourself. You have to invest in giving your body the right vitamins, minerals and nutrients that it needs. Now, if you go to a search engine and type in dead microbiologists, you'll probably get a list of over 100 that have died in very unusual circumstances over the last few years. In fact, you'll get a lot that have had accidents, let's just say that, recently. Now, I want to point out an example of something which might or might not be questionable. There was in fact a doctor who was, a doctor and his family were all shot dead. I covered that story a few days ago, in their house, and he was very much a biologist who was whistleblowing about a lot of things that weren't right within the system. Anyway, the point about this article is it's just highlighting the fact that this is going on. Take from it what you will. Dead doctors do appear to be dropping like flies right now. And who do you get your health advice from, right? And which profession is one of the unhealthiest in the world? Dun, dun, dun. Think about it. Especially dead doctors dropping like flies. Xuping Wang, a Chinese doctor who braved the loss of her job as well as ostracism, assault, and the destruction of her first marriage. She braved that to expose the spread of AIDS in rural China, died on the 21st of September last year in Salt Lake City. She was 59. She died while hiking in a canyon with her husband, Gary Christensen. A preliminary autopsy indicated the cause was heart attack, he said. She had lived in Salt Lake City in recent years after settling in the United States. Her death came just over 2 weeks after a stage play based on her experience as a whistleblower opened in London. Dr. Wang worked for nearly 2 decades in relative quiet as a medical researcher in her adopted homeland. Most recently at the University of Utah, colleagues said she sometimes did not know of her dramatic and traumatic past. Yes. Yeah. And it's also interesting the number of people coming into the West working in universities and institutions from China recently. Take a look at those people. Take a look at the people behind the the throne, right? The thrones, shall we say? The thrones in this Game of Thrones. Funny how we're all pre-programmed that way. My God, just look at any of the zombie movies that have come out in the last 10 years. Are we not living in one of those right now? In fact, I wanted to do a report on the those films, the Shaun of the Dead and the 12 Monkeys, and the ideas contained within. Interesting. So we're not just in a global health crisis is also an economic crisis. These things are interconnected. We bind economics to health, and vice versa, right? Right now. So if the economies are going to fail, then so health is going to fail as well. SMMT Chief Executive Mike Hawes said, "The market's worst nightmare in living memory is hardly surprising. These figures, however, still make for exceptionally grim reading, not least for the hundreds of thousands of people whose livelihoods depend on the sector." The lockdown enforced on March the 23rd has helped to stop the spread of the deadly COVID-19, but has paralyzed large swathes of the economy and put vast numbers of companies on the brink. 1 in 10 firms, some 591,000 businesses, excuse me, 591,000 businesses, that's over 500,000 businesses, are at high risk of going bust as a result of the pandemic, according to an analysis published today. 1 in 10. I am the 1 in 10. 1 in 10, guys. 1 in 10. Yep. The worst recession in living memory, perhaps ever, actually. Perhaps ever. And in times of crisis, we do need brave men. And brave men appear to be fewer and further between. There is a YouTube video, C virus PSSED of Good Cop Speaks Out on Tyranny. Brave, it's brave, putting your job on the line in order to protect I don't want to use the term greater good, but let's just say to protect individual liberties. And that's what these people take oaths to, right? What have you taken an oath to recently? Huh? Have you taken an oath to anything? Meanwhile, CBS News has been caught faking their news reports again. It's not an intelligence operation at all, is it? Well, thank you to Veritas for pointing out this. If it looks too good to be true. Anyway, let's just read it. A CBS News crew pulled medical professionals off the floor at the Cherry Medical Center in Grand Rapids, Michigan, to line up in their vehicles so a CBS film crew could have a long line for their COVID-19 coverage, reports Project Veritas. Our insider witnessed the whole thing and came to Project Veritas because he knew we would protect him, said James O'Keefe, the founder and CEO of Project Veritas. And if you're not following their work, please do. Please do. It does make a difference. Source of this information, Hannity.com. Media malpractice. There's a lot of that out there. Meanwhile, at technocracy.news, more information about contact tracing. I've seen it written contact tracing and contract tracing. I do believe it is contact tracing. The panopticon grid of total surveillance is getting worse, surprisingly. As part of their careful orchestrated coup d'etat, technocrats have declared war on an unseeable virus. The prospective army of foot soldiers is now revealed as contact tracers. Dun, 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 who will kickstart the national panopticon grid of total surveillance. Knock, knock on your door. The specific marketing propaganda to implement this is that it will help us emerge from lockdown. You want to emerge from lockdown, right? Well, all you have to do is sign your rights away, follow these rules, take these pills, and allow us to give you a little jab. This This subtle lever of coercion is to ensure public acceptance. Yes, everything's leverage. Since each state is responsible for their own surveillance programs, it is estimated that collectively there will be a force of at least 300,000 such snitches. I imagine this will be the USA. When one, but it's everywhere, right? Because where they go, we follow. When one shows up at your door, you will be well advised to tell them to get lost and never come back. Yep, don't let the vampires in. Don't let the vampires in. Meanwhile, they're not just going after the adults, they're going after the kids. Really, this article is from the mirror.co.uk. Fury as parents of 6 kids are asked to sign do not resuscitate orders. I mean, really? Still think this is not a medical tyranny? Well, one enraged mother claims her 16-year-old son was called directly by their GP surgery to ask to consent to a DNR form. We call it DNR because otherwise you will panic. The order instructs medics not to perform CPR if a patient stops breathing or their heart. So isn't that what doctors, aren't they? Isn't do no harm, Hippocratic Oath? Do we even have that anymore? The National Institute for Health and Care Excellence has told doctors to assess people with learning disabilities, autism or cerebral palsy on a clinical frailty scale. Right, good. Just understand that Orwellian term, please. Clinical frailty scale. Clinical frailty scale. If you're slightly less weak than other people, we're just going to let you die, basically. And we get to decide. Sorry, this is your healthcare system. You know, what happened to equal opportunities? Huh? How well did that work out? Yeah. Psychopaths are in charge. Psychopaths are in charge. Let me read that last sentence again. Excellence, Care Excellence, National Institute for Health and Care Excellence. You believed, I mean, could you imagine in your life you would ever hear such a sentence? The National Institute for Health and Care Excellence has told doctors to assess people with learning disabilities, autism or cerebral palsy on a clinical frailty scale, meaning some of those would be denied hospital treatment. Really? I mean, how insane are we? How much are you prepared to have it rubbed in your face? Yeah. Do you remember what they've done? What they've done to the least of us, they have done to us all. It's just general insanity everywhere. Where bicycle trails get closed, but it's okay to walk on them, right? I mean, well, what kind of madness? What kind of madness is that? What kind of madness is that? What kind of madness is that one group of insane people get to decide what everybody listens to, reads, consumes, where everybody goes? Meanwhile, London Rail are fighting the good fight. CNBC had an article pointing out that their material is being systematically, step by step, removed from the internet. Bit maddening, isn't it? Bit maddening. I don't know. I'm not sure how we're going to fight back against this. What do you think? How are you going to fight back against it? Are you going to do anything? Are you going to educate yourself? Are you going to educate yourself about what's happening? I think education is key. I think education is key. I also think that we misunderstand modern education. The system is not quite as good as it pretends to be, surprisingly. What do I mean by that? Well, listen to this article. In 1983, Robert A. Peterson's Education in Colonial America revealed some stunning facts and figures. The Federalist Papers, which are seldom read or understood today, even in our universities, explains, Peterson. Did I say Patterson? Peterson? The Federalist Papers were written for and read by the common man and woman. Literacy rates were as high or higher than they are today. Incredible. Incredible that literacy rates in the past were actually better. Incredibly, a study conducted in 1800 by Dupont de Nemours. Wow, 1800, a study conducted in 1800. Wow. Revealed that only 4 in 1,000 Americans were unable to read and write legibly. Wow. Um, Only 4 in 1,000 Americans. What's that? That's less than 0.5%, right? Um, wow. Well, into into the 19th century, writes Susan Alder in Education in America, parents did not even consider that the civil government in any way had the responsibility or should assume the responsibility of providing the education of children. Yep, yep, this is the new order. We're living in a new order. It's a new world. Only one state, Massachusetts, even had compulsory schooling laws before the Civil War. Compulsory schooling, yes, because they if you didn't send your kids to school, they would take them from you. No win, no win scenario, right? Yeah, literacy rates were amongst the highest in history, even though only one state had compulsory schooling in the United States. Meanwhile, Great Britain experienced similar trends. In 1996, Edwin West wrote in The Spread of Education Before Compulsion in Britain and America in the 19th Century that when national compulsion, nice word, when national compulsion we're experiencing that again now, was enacted, um, we're forcing you to self-regulate or isolate or whatever. Insanity is reality. When national compulsion was enacted in 1818, over 95% of 15-year-olds were literate. More than a century later. More than a century later, 40% of 21-year-olds in the United Kingdom admitted to difficulties with writing and spelling. Yes, they systematically dumb you down whilst giving you awards and rewards and praising how the system does it. Praising how the system does it. Yeah, yeah. Um, that's the way it goes. Sad but true. Sad but true. Sad but true that we're living in such crazy times. And if you just look at television or listen to the radio, you'd think that everybody was happy and there weren't any real problems and people were getting on with their lives as normal. However, it's not true. We're we're in the new age, the new order, the new system, the new poverty. Which people economics helping people climb out of poverty, businesses helping people climb out of poverty, entrepreneurs helping people climb out of poverty is what's helped society in the last 40, 50, maybe even 100 years. However, right now we're reversing all of that. We're going backwards because more than 3 million people in Britain are going hungry because of the coronavirus crisis. According to new research showing that stark drops in income have pushed many families into poverty during the lockdown. The Food Foundation, a research organization, said on Saturday that 6% of surveyed adults, the equivalent of 3 million people, told them that a lack of food had forced someone in their household to go without eating during the past 3 weeks. In the survey of 4,343 adults, which was carried out by polling organization YouGov, on behalf of the Food Foundation, 16% of respondents, the equivalent of a total of 8.1 million people, said they had faced food insecurity of some kind as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. 8.1 million people. 16% of that's a huge, and that's, what about the kids, huh? What about the kids? And this is just because of the lockdown. It's not because of the virus. It's because of the lockdown. It's because of the reaction. Problem, problem, reaction, solution. Solution. Meanwhile, ITV.com reports 60,000 cancer patients could die as a result of a lack of scanning and care and treatment at this present time. but we call it a healthcare system, right? You know, is it really healthcare? Is this real healthcare? Is this what you think about when you think about healthcare? Um, Sometimes I think they don't really care. Because definitely cancer doesn't care about coronavirus. Cancer is a relentless evil. It's also a breakdown of the immune system, and it requires constant vigilance to even slow the spread. Right. Um, in in a usual April, we would normally see around 30,000 people diagnosed with cancer. I would be surprised if the number reaches 5,000 this month. Coronavirus will steal the headlines, but cancer kills 450 people a day in the UK. Cancer kills 450 people a day in the UK. There is no peak and the numbers aren't coming down. So we're going to add coronavirus on top of the cancer as well and just have more death. Hurrah! Well done, well done, well done society. Unless we act urgently, that number will rise. A group of oncologists, including myself, the writer, estimate that 60,000 cancer patients could die because of a lack of treatment or diagnosis. It is absolutely right to stop the treatment for some cancers in the case of coronavirus. The immunosuppressive effects of the treatment would put the patient at risk as their immune system is significantly weakened. Why can't we have treatments that boost the immune system? Huh? Is it too much to ask? Really? Is it too much to ask? Why don't we educate kids in primary schools to boost their immune system? Why don't we have programs on TV about boosting the immune system? Huh? For certain people, a delay of a month would have a negative impact on future prognosis. Of course it would. Of course it would. Of course it would. But it's all about the sickening of society. It's all about the dumbing down of society. It's all about the return to feudalism. It's all about the fact that it's not pleasant to be a peasant. Right? Don't get it twisted. Meanwhile, somebody who hasn't got it twisted at all and got it right all along was Jon Rappoport. Respect where respect is due. The man's figures and statistics have been spot on, and he has the data to back it up. So basically what he says is that all COVID case numbers are meaningless. Why? 3 reasons. Number 1, researchers never properly discovered a new virus in China in the first place. Their claim of having done so is false. I'll just read that again. There's absolutely no clear evidence that a new virus has been discovered. And several other doctors have pointed this out. Kaufman has pointed this out. The guy who wrote the bioweapons treaties said something similar. The guy got the Nobel Prize for HIV said something similar as well. So it's not just one person in one place. There are quite a few people pointing out this. So point 2 is that the widespread diagnostic test for the virus in a patient, the PCR, is riddled with irreparable flaws. It spits out false positives because the test reacts to the presence of irrelevant germs that have nothing to do with COVID. Most importantly, the test has never been vetted in the real world for its claimed ability to detect whether a patient is ill or is going to become ill. Right? Let me just read that again because I think that the world might have missed it. The widespread diagnostic test for the virus in a patient, the PCR, is riddled with irreparable flaws. It spits out false positives because the test reacts to the presence of irrelevant germs that have nothing to do with purported COVID. Most importantly, the test has never been vetted in the real world for its claimed ability to detect whether a patient is ill or is going to become ill. Is that enough? Have you had enough yet? There's one more. Number 3. Many diagnoses of COVID in patients are based on no tests at all, but rather eyeball assessment, guesswork, unproven assumptions, outright lying, or in China, CT scans of lungs which prove nothing about the presence of COVID or any other supposed causative virus, but will throw out the name in every news report and brainwash people into believing that something that doesn't exist actually does. Meanwhile, at the same time, George Orwell rolls cartwheels in his grave at the insanity that we just accept. We just accept. Cheryl Atkinson pointed out on Twitter. Today, Facebook fact-checked as false a documentary that said it could be possible that the coronavirus came from a Wuhan lab. Who was the fact-checker? The fact-checker for Facebook was a scientist who worked in the Wuhan lab, believe it or not. So who fact-checks Facebook's false fact-checks? It's Facebook fact-checking Facebook, right? And now they're setting up panels. Now they're setting up panels to decide what is true. They've got their truth panels set up in Facebook. No joke. No joke. No joke. No joke. Go and search for yourself. They're setting up truth panels to decide whether or not what you're saying, what you are saying, is true. Right? Whether or not the information you've studied is real or not, whether or not what you're saying is true or not, doesn't matter. They are going to decide if you are telling the truth, because your truth is not important. All that's important is their truth, because they're psychopaths and they want power and they want control and they want it all. They want it all and they want it now. Meanwhile, back in Britain, we get to see how everything aligns, how the plans come together, how they've been preparing for this all along, as the sick and elderly people are left to die either in care homes or their old homes. Isolation kills people. It's just a fact. I'm sorry. I'm sorry if the facts are irrelevant. I'm sorry if the truth is uncomfortable. That's just the way it is. Meanwhile, nurses and doctors dance for TikTok because they're so busy in their wards, right? And meanwhile, everybody is encouraged to stand outside of their house and clap at 8 o'clock in the evening because that's what improves people's health and nutrition, right? Right. Meanwhile, in the recent BBC interview, Bill Gates denied the existence of his very own organizations. I kid you not. He has denied the existence of his own organization, specifically his Pandemic Drill Event 201. How you can forget what you were planning for all of your life is far beyond me. Perhaps this man should take a sanity test because I don't know. If it isn't obvious, I don't know what else to say. Note to self: watch later. Note to everybody: watch later. Go to YouTube.com. Watch Planet of the Humans. Don't watch Netflix rubbish. Forget about the superheroes. Turn your attention to reality, please. Please do something. Push back, because logic saves lives in the long term. It really does. Just logic on a personal level, logic within community. What was once called common sense, which you could discover almost everywhere, what America was famous for, and now it's just famous for parrots who read from scripts. Crazy, huh? Really crazy. And people need to learn to think for themselves. They need to challenge themselves to think for themselves, because challenge is the only way forward. Because it's only the hard edge experience of personal responsibility and constructive feedback that leads to anything. Personal responsibility should never be sheltered from people. It should never specifically be sheltered from children. It should be encouraged so that the children will have the necessary skills to deal with inevitable problems that they will face sooner or later in life. So that we can understand the veil that has been pulled down, so that we can understand the masks that exist, because we just have to we have to face the truth. I mean, we've got a health system that's corrupt. It's so corrupt that when vaccines kill children, they just make up the name of a new disease to describe it. They call it SIDS, sudden infant death syndrome, and they move on. They do that and they move on. I mean, are you even aware of that? Are you aware of what goes on? Do you care? Do you care enough to make a change? Do you care enough to make a difference? Um, what about, if not for you, then what about the future generations? What kind of legacy? What kind of legacy are we leaving behind for the people who come after us? Yeah, well, people are not having kids now anyway, so they don't understand legacy. They don't understand future. They're just thinking, me. How long can I survive? Huh? Go have some kids and then learn both how important and unimportant you are at exactly the same time. Um, Anyway, my name's G. I represent the Academy. You can find more information under Graham William Hendry on Facebook. There's actually 5 pages up on Facebook. There's Twitter, there's Instagram, there's LinkedIn, there's YouTube, and a plethora of other places and spaces. Information goes out on all 12 podcast platforms. So I figure on average, on a daily basis, I'm putting out about 100 pieces of information right now. It's not a joke. It's not a joke. If I put out 2 podcasts a day, which is what I do some days, not including YouTube videos, not including advertisements, not including images, and the images go out sometimes on 5 different platforms. So minimum 2 images a day on what is 6 platforms, and that crosses over because Instagram goes also to the business page on Facebook. So that's a starter for 12. Then you've got the individual articles. Say there's about 10 articles a day, so that takes it up to 22. And then you've got the each podcast goes out on 12 different platforms. So there's 2 podcasts a day. That's 22. That's plus 24. That's 46, and that's not including unique YouTube videos as well, and yeah, add images to that. It's up well over 50 pieces of digital media on different platforms on a daily basis. So, and this is what people have to do to create little ripples in the system to spread the good information. Please share the YouTube channel, the Academy of Language Therapy and Life Coaching, 2,500 videos on there, most of which are backed up because I don't trust the system. And maybe you should check out the other great video platforms as well. Don't just use YouTube. Use BitChute, use Brighteon, question Vimeo, not sure. There are other great platforms out there as well. Band, BANED, DOTVIDEO, so is also worth checking out. Right, that's it. Thank you very much for paying attention. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you very much for tuning in. Do what you can to make a difference in the world. Reach out, touch, connect. Do what it is that you need to do. And remember, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, don't forget to tell the people that you love them. There we go. Peace out, guys.